Have you ever felt a quiet fracture inside yourself? A soft, trembling vulnerability you can't quite name. You carry strength on the outside, but inside, there's a whisper, fragile, hesitant, unsure. Maybe you hide it behind achievement, discipline, or the smiles you show to the world. And yet, in the silence of your room, when no one is watching, you feel it, that deep, invisible weight. Could it be that the roots of this weakness stretch all the way back to him, the father you longed for, feared, or never truly knew? The word weakness is heavy. It feels like a judgment, an accusation whispered by the world and sometimes even by ourselves. But what if I told you that the sense of weakness you feel isn't your fault at all? That it may have been placed there layer by layer, word by word, glance by the man who was meant to protect you, your father. When we talk about weakness, we often think about the moments we stumble in life. We remember the times we hesitated to speak, faltered under pressure, or froze in the face of confrontation. But weakness isn't just about actions or failures. It's about the emotional imprint left on us, the invisible architecture of our inner life that silently shapes how we move through the world. If your father was distant, critical, harsh, or emotionally unavailable, he may have unknowingly taught you that your feelings, your needs, even your very existence, was secondary. Maybe he demanded performance over presence, toughness over tenderness, silence over vulnerability. And if you didn't meet his unspoken standards, you learned quickly your worth was conditional. This is why the father you adored didn't can define how you relate to yourself. It can affect your ability to trust, your capacity to assert boundaries, your comfort with intimacy, and the way you nurture your own inner life. You might have grown into a world-class performer on the outside, yet every compliment, every achievement feels hollow because deep down you're waiting for his approval, for a word of acknowledgement, for a love that may never arrive. You are not alone. Millions of people carry the same hidden wound, and while it may feel like a personal flaw, a private weakness, it is actually a shared human experience. In this video, we will explore the father behind your weakness, the origins of this emotional imprint, the traits it shapes, the silent battles it provokes, and, most importantly, the path toward healing and reclaiming your power. By the end, you will understand that your weakness is not a defect, but a message, a reflection of a story written long ago, one you can now read, understand, and begin to rewrite for yourself. Weakness often begins in the quiet corners of childhood. It's not always the explosive moments, the yelling, the punishment, but the silences, the missed gestures, the absence of attunement that etch themselves into our hearts. You might remember sitting at the kitchen table, hands fidgeting, words unsaid, trying to bridge a gap that felt impossible. Maybe he never noticed your drawings, your small triumphs, your secret pains. Maybe he noticed, but only to critique, redirect, or withdraw. In families where the father is emotionally distant, children learn early to protect themselves. You might have discovered, without words, that showing fear, sadness, or vulnerability would meet with disdain, or worse, indifference. You begin to shrink, twofold parts of yourself inward, until survival is no longer about being seen, but about being invisible enough not to be hurt. Perhaps he was a man who believed toughness was the only path to love. His affection might have been transactional, dependent on performance, silence, or obedience. And even if he loved you, he might have carried his own wounds, his own childhood fears, his own unresolved pain-making, him unable to give the tenderness you needed. You absorbed this unknowingly, shaping a template for who you should be: guarded, self-reliant, never enough, always measuring, always compensating. Cinematic moments of this early conditioning replay in memory, like fragile film reels. You recall the soft knock at your bedroom door that never came, the missed cheers at your recital, the cold stare when you cried. Each omission, each harsh word, each unspoken expectation reinforced a quiet truth: your needs were secondary. Your inner life became a delicate maze, navigated with caution and quiet vigilance. As you grew, this internal architecture followed you into the world. In school, at work, in friendships, romantic relationships, you might have noticed the pattern: a craving for approval, a tendency to hide fear, a discomfort with vulnerability. You carried the invisible lesson of your father. That weakness must be masked, concealed, or denied. And here is the paradox: the more you tried to be strong, the more you felt weak. Strength became a shield, and the shield, in turn, was heavy, cumbersome, isolating. You learned the language of survival, but not the language of self-love. And now, as an adult, these early scripts whisper beneath your conscious mind, shaping your behaviors, your fears, and the man you are still becoming. The father behind your weakness leaves visible traces, subtle yet profound. Here are some of the signs. Sign 1. The silence of self-doubt. You constantly question your worth, even in moments of success. A whisper inside says, "You're not enough," echoing the unspoken critiques of a distant father. You chase perfection, yet perfection never feels like home. Sign 2. Hyper-independence. You refuse help, even when needed, believing that asking is weakness. Independence is your armor, forged in childhood to survive emotional absence. Yet it isolates you from genuine connection. Sign 3. Emotional guarding. You struggle to express vulnerability. Love and pain feel risky because, in the past, exposing them invited judgment or indifference. Your heart learns to remain behind invisible gates. Sign 4. Achievement over affection. Recognition is validation. Praise is oxygen. You may succeed in school, work, or social spheres, yet still feel empty, longing for the fatherly nod that never came. Sign 5. Fear of criticism. Even small critiques sting deeply, echoing the critical tones of your father. Your inner critic mirrors his voice, relentless and exacting, leaving you perpetually uneasy. Sign 6. People-pleasing tendencies. You anticipate others' expectations, molding yourself to gain approval. Your own desires become background noise, drowned in the fear of rejection. Sign 7. Avoidance of conflict. Arguments, disagreements, or confrontation trigger anxiety. Conflict may unconsciously remind you of the father who was harsh, withdrawn, or unyielding. Sign 8. Struggle with intimacy. Deep connections feel risky. You may hold partners at arm's length, afraid that exposure will lead to disappointment, criticism, or abandonment. Sign 9. Chronic guilt or shame. You carry an internalized sense of failure, a belief that your existence or emotions are inherently wrong. This is the echo of a father who never fully accepted you. Sign 10. Self-sabotage. You may unconsciously undermine your own success, happiness, or relationships, as if to prove a deep-seated narrative. I am unworthy. I do not deserve love. These traits are not flaws. They are survival mechanisms, strategies developed to navigate a world where the father you needed was absent, unreachable, or harsh. Recognizing them is not shameful, it is liberating. Psychologists often reference attachment theory to explain these patterns. John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth's research suggests that early interactions with caregivers shape our internal working models of relationships. A father who is emotionally distant may foster an avoidant attachment style, where intimacy is feared and independence is prioritized above emotional connection. Carl Jung spoke about the shadow, the parts of ourselves, hidden or repressed. In this context, the shadow often contains our vulnerability, fear, and unmet needs, especially those stemming from paternal influence. Recognizing the shadow is crucial for self-awareness and emotional growth. Other concepts like parentification, a child taking on adult responsibilities, or where one constantly scans for threat, explain why some adults remain anxious, perfectionistic, or unable to rest in relationships. Emotional dysregulation, too, may arise when early emotional needs were unmet, leaving the nervous system reactive rather than secure. Understanding these terms is not about labeling yourself. It's about recognizing patterns, seeing them for what they are, and reclaiming the choice to respond differently as an adult. Knowledge empowers change. You are not broken. You are informed. The hidden truth of a father-shaped weakness is exhaustion. You may achieve success, yet feel hollow. You may have friends, but loneliness lingers. You may love, yet fear an intimacy. Emotional cost of survival strategies is immense, often invisible. You carry tension in your chest, in your shoulders, in the way your heart hesitates before trust. Relationships may repeat patterns: disappointment, withdrawal, or self-sabotage. Emotional triggers: criticism, abandonment. Failure hit with disproportionate intensity because they echo early paternal dynamics. This shadow does not just linger in your mind, it manifests in your body. Tightness, fatigue, sleepless nights, restless energy, chronic stress. The inner child waits silently, seeking acknowledgement, safety, and love. Without conscious awareness, this child's needs may remain unmet for decades, fueling anxiety, low self-esteem, and even depressive cycles. There is also grief, the grief of longing for a father's affection that may never come. The grief of lost opportunities, unmet potential, and silent emotional starvation. And because society often tells men and women to toughen up, this grief is carried privately, hidden behind a facade of competence or resilience. Yet, even in darkness, understanding can illuminate. Naming the source of your struggle, the father behind your weakness, is the first step toward liberation. It validates your experience and allows compassion for yourself. You are not weak because you are flawed. You are wounded because your needs were unmet, and wounds can be healed. Healing begins with recognition. Look within and see the patterns. Acknowledge the ways your father's absence, distance, or criticism shaped you. This is not blame, it is understanding. Next, cultivate the inner parent. Speak to yourself with kindness, with the words you longed to hear. Validate your fears, honor your feelings, and allow yourself the tenderness denied to you. Journaling, meditation, or therapy can help bridge this gap, offering a safe space for your inner child to speak. Boundaries are essential. Weakness often thrives in environments where needs are ignored or invalidated. Learning to say no, to protect your emotional space, and to prioritize your well-being is not selfish, it is necessary. Connect with others intentionally. Seek relationships where vulnerability is met with empathy, not judgment. Surround yourself with those who witness your humanity without demanding performance. Lastly, practice patience. Healing is not linear. Some days will feel like progress, others like relapse. But each step, each moment of self-compassion rebuilds strength from within. The father who wants to find your weakness no longer has the power to dictate your identity. You are the author of your emotional story now. You are not weak. You are a survivor of a complex, often unspoken emotional landscape. You carry memories, wounds, and echoes of a father who shaped you. Yes, but you also carry the capacity to grow, to heal, and to become whole in your own right. Imagine your inner child finally held, finally seen, finally safe. Imagine the armor of hyper-independence softening, revealing the tender, resilient soul beneath. Imagine choosing your response to life, not reacting to old fears or shadows. This is possible. This is real. You are allowed to grieve, to stumble, to rest. You are allowed to be vulnerable. You are allowed to create a life where approval is internal, where love is abundant, and where your weaknesses transform into gateways for strength, empathy, and self-understanding. Look inward, hold your heart gently, whisper to yourself the words you longed to hear. You are enough, you are seen, you are safe. The father behind your weakness may have shaped you, but he does not define the entirety of your being. Your story is still unfolding, and it is yours to write.